March 5, 2007. Antwerp, Belgium. Security staff at ABN AMRO Bank went into the diamond vault and found 5 safe deposit boxes, gaping open and empty. 120,000 carats of diamonds, gone. The vault door had never been forced. The alarm never triggered. Not a single camera caught anything suspicious. On the break room counter, investigators found the only clue left behind. Empty gold boxes of Godiva and Leonidas chocolates. The kind, friendly elderly gentleman had been bringing to the staff every week for the past 1 year. To understand why this heist was so devastating and so brilliant, you first need to understand what Antwerp actually is. Antwerp, Belgium. A medieval port city of 500,000 people. Cobblestone streets, Gothic spires. It does not look like the center of a global industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars. But crammed into barely 1 square mile sits the Antwerp Diamond District. 4 city blocks that process 80 to 85% of the entire world's rough diamonds every single year. $54 billion in gemstones, 1,500 companies, 35,000 professionals. More wealth-changing hands per square foot than almost anywhere else on Earth. The system governing it all runs on one ancient principle: reputation. Deals worth millions sealed with handshakes. Diamond parcels changing hands on street corners based purely on a man's word. Trust is the only real currency here. And yet, beneath that old-world culture sits a security infrastructure that would make military designers envious. ABN AMRO Bank on Pelikanstraat was its crown jewel. A 30-ton steel door, German-manufactured. 3 senior managers required to input codes simultaneously just to open it each morning. Biometric scanners, laser grids, pressure plates, bulletproof glass, constant video surveillance. Insurance companies offered their lowest premiums. Security consultants used it as a textbook model. In over a century of operation, the vault had never once been breached. But every fortress is ultimately operated by human beings. And human beings are not security systems. They are something far more exploitable. Spring, 2006, 12 months before the vault would be found empty. An elderly gentleman appeared at the reception desk of ABN AMRO Bank on a quiet Tuesday morning in April. Silver hair, neatly combed. Dark suit, well-tailored, but not flashy. Warm, easy smile. He moved slowly, unhurried, the way men do when they have long since stopped needing to prove anything to anyone. He introduced himself as Carlos Hector Flomenbaum, a diamond trader from Argentina with business interests in Antwerp. He needed to open a safe deposit box for storing inventory during his extended stay in the city. Standard request. The bank processed dozens every month. Background checks were conducted. His identity documents, an Argentine passport, appeared valid and in order. His business credentials checked out. References were provided and confirmed. Within a few days, Carlos Hector Flomenbaum was assigned safe deposit box number 138 and issued his client key. Most new clients visited their boxes sporadically. Dealers came during major transactions. Cutters arrived seasonally. High-volume traders might access their boxes 2 or 3 times a week during busy periods. But Flomenbaum's pattern was different from the very beginning. He came every day. Not just frequently, not just regularly. Every single day, almost without exception, arriving at mid-morning, always impeccably dressed, always unhurried, and always carrying something. A gold box. Godiva, Belgium's most internationally recognized chocolatier. Or Leonidas, beloved by locals across the country. The boxes were always fresh, always properly selected. A praline assortment one day. dark chocolate almonds the next, seasonal collections when available. The first time he offered one to the reception staff, there was polite hesitation. Bank policy technically discouraged gifts from clients. But Flomenbaum was gentle about it. He simply opened the box, held it forward with a smile, and if someone declined, he nodded graciously, closed the lid, and moved on without a trace of awkwardness. No pressure, no performance. Just an old man with nice chocolates and good manners. By the second week, more staff were accepting. By the third week, they looked forward to his visits, because the chocolates were only part of it. Flomenbaum had a gift that no amount of money can actually buy. He paid genuine seeming attention to people who were accustomed to being invisible. He remembered names, not just the managers, but the junior tellers, the security guards, the cleaning staff he passed in the corridor. He asked about their lives. When a vault security guard named Thomas mentioned offhandedly that his daughter had just been accepted to university in Brussels, Flomenbaum arrived the next morning with a specially selected box of champagne truffles and a brief congratulatory note tucked inside the lid. When a receptionist mentioned she was struggling with back pain, he arrived 2 days later with the name of a highly recommended physiotherapist in the city center, written on a small card in careful handwriting. He never discussed bank operations, never asked probing questions, never lingered too long or made anyone feel observed. He was simply present, warm, consistent, and completely without apparent agenda. The bank manager, Jean-Pierre Legas, initially maintained the professional distance appropriate to his position. But 6 months of daily pleasant interactions wear down professional distance the way water wears down stone. Slowly, invisibly, and completely. By autumn 2006, Legas found himself looking forward to Tuesday mornings specifically because Carlos always came by with something particularly good on Tuesdays. They talked about football, about the weather turning cold, about good restaurants near the central station. Normal things, human things. And the vault security guards, the men tasked with escorting clients to their deposit boxes, standing precisely 3 meters back to provide privacy while maintaining visual contact, began doing something they were never supposed to do. They began to relax around him. Standard protocol required full vigilance with every client, every visit, without exception. But protocols are written for strangers. And this was Carlos. Harmless, grandfather-like Carlos, who had never once caused a problem, never complained about wait times, never made an unusual request. Carlos, who brought those incredible dark chocolate almonds on cold mornings when everyone needed something. By late 2006, Flomenbaum had achieved something that no security upgrade, no biometric scanner, and no German-engineered steel door could have prevented. He had become invisible, not by hiding, by belonging. When Carlos arrived, guards smiled instead of scrutinizing. Staff waved instead of verifying. He had transformed from client to fixture, a comfortable part of the building's daily rhythm, as unremarkable as the coffee machine in the break room. Nobody asked why a diamond trader needed to visit his safe deposit box every single day. Nobody wondered what, precisely, he kept in box number 138. Nobody thought to examine the pattern too closely, because nobody suspects the man who brings the chocolates. What investigators and security experts would later piece together, with considerable admiration and considerable horror, was that Flomenbaum's charm offensive had never been accidental. It had been engineered. Every element of his year-long performance had been calculated in advance, with what one analyst would later describe as near military precision. The choice of Godiva and Leonidas over cheaper alternatives was deliberate. Belgium's relationship with chocolate is cultural, historical, almost sacred. Offering a foreign brand or a cheap domestic one would have registered, even unconsciously, as disrespectful. Godiva signaled taste, means, and cultural awareness. It said, "I know your country. I respect it. I belong here." The timing of his visits, Tuesday through Thursday mid-morning, was not habitual. It was optimal. Monday morning, staff are stressed and distracted by the week's backlog. Friday afternoons, their attention is already halfway to the weekend. But Tuesday through Thursday, mid-morning, staff have settled into the rhythm of the day without yet reaching the afternoon fatigue that breeds irritability and carelessness. This is the window, as any behavioral researcher will tell you, when people are most receptive, most social, and most likely to lower their psychological guard. And beneath all of it, beneath the chocolates, the names remembered, the small kindnesses performed, Flomenbaum was doing something else entirely. He was collecting information. He observed staff rotations with the patience of a trained intelligence operative. He identified which guards worked which days, which managers arrived first, which ones ran late. He noted the 3 senior managers required to open the vault each morning. Lagasse, who arrived reliably by 8:15 a.m., a second manager who came around 8:45, and a third who invariably rushed in just before 9:10, slightly breathless, slightly apologetic. The vault opened at 9:30 sharp. He mapped the camera positions, 12 in total. He noted that the security monitoring office rotated staff every 4 hours, and that the afternoon shift employed a guard with a habit of reading newspapers, while the surveillance screens flickered unwatched in the background. He identified the building's quiet period, between 1:30 and 2:30 in the afternoon, when staggered lunch breaks thinned the corridors and reduced attention across every checkpoint. He identified the key management system. Bank-held keys for deposit boxes were retrieved each morning by a senior teller, counted against a checklist, and placed in an access tray. He observed the protocol for escorting clients. Verify identity, confirm box number, retrieve bank key, walk client to vault, insert both keys simultaneously, step back exactly 3 meters, maintain visual contact. He noted that at the 3-meter mark, guards often checked their phones or chatted with colleagues passing in the corridor. 3 meters. The precise distance between vigilance and vulnerability. And then, slowly, methodically, he began creating cracks in the system. The chocolates had established something beyond goodwill. They had created psychological debt. Reciprocity is among the most deeply hardwired of all human social impulses. When someone gives you something consistently and generously, without apparent expectation of return, the pressure to give something back becomes nearly unbearable. The staff could not offer Flomenbaum money or diamonds, but they could offer something more operationally valuable: small, quiet exceptions to the rules. The most consequential of these came from Thomas, the vault security guard whose daughter's university acceptance had been celebrated with champagne truffles. One morning, after Flomenbaum had made him wait during an unusually backed-up morning, he offered a casual, apologetic suggestion. Would it be possible, he asked gently, just between them, for Thomas to hold on to the bank's key for his box? He visited so often, it would save everyone time, just a small convenience. Thomas hesitated. Policy strictly and explicitly forbade it. But this was Carlos, and it would make the mornings smoother, and the hazelnut pralines last week had been exceptional. He pocketed the key. One key. One small moment of human weakness. One crack in a 30-ton steel door. December 22nd, 2006. ABN AMRO's annual staff Christmas party. The building was quieter than usual. Security was minimal. The festive atmosphere that filled the function room on the upper floor had the predictable effect of drawing attention upward, away from the controlled spaces below. Champagne was poured. The year's anxieties were temporarily suspended. At 7:43 p.m., security footage captured a figure entering through the building's service entrance. Maintenance uniform, face obscured, a cap pulled low, a scarf raised high. The figure moved through the service corridors with unhurried, deliberate purpose, not running, not hesitating, moving the way someone moves when they have rehearsed the route many times in their mind. The key room lock yielded in under a minute. Inside, the figure located the secured tray where bank keys were stored, including the bank's key for box 138, the same one Thomas had occasionally been holding informally, and the backup keys for every other deposit box in the vault. A bar of moldable thermoplastic clay, the kind used by hobbyists and model makers, produced perfect negative impressions. Box 138, box 139, box 140, box after box after box. 15 impressions in under 4 minutes, each one capturing the precise tooth pattern of a key that could open a safe deposit box holding millions of dollars in uncut diamonds. Keys returned to their exact positions. Exit through service entrance. Total time inside: 9 minutes. The security guard assigned to monitor the camera feeds had stepped away to join the party for approximately 12 minutes. On December 24th, a man presenting himself as a collector of antique cabinet hardware visited a specialized locksmith in Brussels. Family heirlooms, he explained, needed duplicates made from impressions he'd taken himself to avoid damaging the originals. The locksmith, seeing nothing unusual in the request, produced 15 perfect duplicate keys within 3 days. Carlos Hector Flomenbaum now held keys to 15 safe deposit boxes that were not his. He had the operational intelligence he needed, he had the access he needed, and he had one thing more that all the keys and all the clay and all the carefully memorized schedules in the world cannot manufacture from scratch: VIP access. Over the course of 12 months of impeccable behavior, Flomenbaum had earned something that ABN AMRO reserved for only its most trusted, long-standing diamond trade clients: an electronic pass card granting unrestricted access to the vault corridor during off hours. Weekends, holidays, no supervision, no escort, no one watching. The system, in its designer's own words, relied entirely on trust. Friday, March 2nd, 2007. Flomenbaum swiped his VIP access card at the entrance to ABN AMRO Bank at a time captured on security footage. He walked calmly through the corridors. He proceeded to the vault area. Security cameras tracked him, moving with characteristic unhurried ease. An elderly man going about his business, as he had done hundreds of times before. He was the last person to enter the vault room that day. What happened during the hours that followed remains, to this day, not fully documented. The $2 million security system that monitored the vault, heat sensors, motion detectors, light sensors, seismic monitors, registered nothing abnormal. Not a single alert was triggered. Not one camera captured what it should have captured. Whether through manipulation of the monitoring system, exploitation of the camera blind spots he had spent months mapping, or through some combination of methods investigators never fully reconstructed, the most surveilled room in one of the world's most surveilled buildings recorded nothing useful. Monday morning, March 5th, 2007. Flomenbaum arrived early. He greeted staff with characteristic warmth, called out good morning to the receptionist by name, paused to comment on the cold weather, accessed the vault, spent several hours inside, emerged, exchanged pleasantries near the entrance, and walked out through the main doors into the gray Antwerp morning. No one suspected anything. Not until the first of the affected box holders arrived to find their container empty. Then the second. Then the third, fourth, and fifth. By the time the scale of what had happened became clear, investigators were staring at a crime scene with almost no useful physical evidence. 120,000 carats of diamonds. Gone. Among the stolen stones, 41 rare blue brilliant cut diamonds, 2 pear-shaped green diamonds, and a single uncut rough diamond of 133 carats. A stone so unusual and so distinctive that selling it through any legitimate channel would be essentially impossible. The total value, approximately $28 million. The working capital, the collateral, the entire financial foundation for 8 Antwerp diamond trading companies wiped out in a single weekend. Investigators reviewed every frame of security footage. They interviewed every staff member. They reconstructed every visit, every interaction, every gold-wrapped chocolate box. What they found, when they finally assembled the full picture, was the methodical outline of a plan that had been running for a year without anyone noticing, because it had been designed specifically to look like nothing at all. The identity of Carlos Hector Flomenbaum began to unravel quickly. The Argentine passport bearing that name had been reported stolen in Israel in 2001. The real Carlos Hector Flomenbaum, whoever he was, had never set foot in ABN AMRO Bank on Pelikanstraat. The man who had spent 12 months building trust, gathering intelligence, and eating hazelnut pralines with Thomas the security guard had been a performance from the first day. Investigators circulated a composite sketch based on staff descriptions. The portrait showed a man of around 55 to 60 years old, gray-haired, clean-shaven, with distinctive bushy eyebrows, standing approximately 6 feet tall. Staff recalled an English speech pattern with what they described as an unspecified American accent. The sketch made its way to Interpol, to European law enforcement networks, and eventually to the United States. The FBI recognized it. Yehuda Mishali, a career criminal with a history stretching back decades across multiple continents. The Chicago Tribune had reported on him as far back as 1998, when he was jailed for the theft of 46 diamonds from safe deposit boxes at a Chicago bank, a crime committed using methods strikingly similar to what had just occurred in Antwerp. Earlier records showed additional indictments going back to the early 1980s, involving stolen electronics transported across state lines. His aliases were numerous, his faces were many. His talent for assuming identities and building trust in order to exploit it was apparently exceptional and long cultivated. In April 2007, a suspected accomplice, identified as Yehuda Mishali, was arrested in Frankfurt, Germany, as he attempted to leave the country. Belgian authorities sought extradition. Hope briefly rose that a thread had been found that would unravel the whole operation. It led nowhere. Prosecutors found insufficient evidence to sustain charges against Yehuda Mishali connected to the Antwerp heist. He was released. Yehuda Mishali was never located. No forwarding address. No known associates in Belgium. No professional contacts who could be traced. He had, as one investigator later put it, existed almost entirely within the walls of ABN AMRO Bank, sustained by chocolates and carefully constructed charm. And when the performance ended, he had simply ceased to exist. In October 2009, more than 2 years after the theft, a Belgian criminal court convicted Yehuda Mishali in absentia and sentenced him to 5 years in prison. He was not present to hear the verdict. He has never been found. The chocolate boxes were removed from the break room eventually, bagged and labeled as evidence. Forensic teams dusted them for fingerprints, swabbed them for DNA. Nothing useful was recovered. The man had been careful about everything, including what he touched and how he touched it. The 120,000 carats of stolen diamonds were never recovered. Investigators noted that without Kimberley process certified origins, the stones would be difficult to move through legitimate international markets. Difficult, not impossible. Yehuda Mishali had spent decades operating within the diamond trade. He knew the legitimate channels intimately, which meant he knew where the illegitimate ones ran parallel to them. Somewhere, presumably, those stones were recut, repolished, reintroduced into supply chains with new paperwork and new histories, indistinguishable from any other carbon arranged in the same molecular structure. Diamonds, unlike almost every other object of comparable value, carry no serial numbers. Without physical marking or DNA tagging, tracking a stone once it has been recut is functionally impossible. They could be anywhere. They could be on someone's finger right now, sparkling under a chandelier at a wedding or a gala, with no trace left of the vault they came from, or the man who walked out with them on a gray Monday morning in Antwerp. The chocolates cost Flomenbaum, or Mishali, or whatever his name actually was, approximately $12,000 over the course of 12 months. A carefully maintained social investment, paid out in gold boxes 2 or 3 times a week, in sugar-free options for the health-conscious and champagne truffles for the sentimental, in small remembered kindnesses that cost almost nothing and were worth everything. $12,000 against $28 million in return. And the lesson that ABN AMRO security consultants, insurance assessors, and biometric system designers had not managed to encode into any of their protocols. The one vulnerability that no 30-ton steel door has ever successfully addressed is this: the most dangerous person in any secured building is not the one who forces their way in. It is the one everyone is happy to see arrive. Somewhere, perhaps, an old man with gray hair and good taste in chocolates still thinks about those Tuesday mornings in Antwerp. The cold light through the bank's tall windows, the sound of the vault door sighing open, the smell of pralines warming gently in a gold-lidded box, and the weight of 120,000 carats walking quietly out the door.